Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California, and today is June 17, 2021, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And our special guests today are Stephen Howard from Mexico City, where it's, 1 p.m. there?
1 o'clock in the afternoon on a chilly June day.
All right. And Sergey Gorbatov is in Southern California in the Irvine area. Welcome, Sergey.
Well, it's great to be back here.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, we did a talk show about a year or so ago when you were in Madrid, I think, and maybe it was longer. And it was about the book about Fair Talk that co-authored with Angela Lane. So how's the sales for Fair Talk?
The sales for Fair Talk are going up. We're growing in several markets, particularly in Russia. In Russia, it was translated into Russian. And actually, this year we were nominated as the we entered the competition as the best business book. It's a competition organized by PricewaterhouseCoopers Russia. We ended up as number one after the first round in the category of best English language for foreign book. And now we're waiting for the outcomes of the second round, which is the authoritative jury or a panel of experts.
So the theme of the book is basically, so the theme of Fair Talk is basically about talking back to the boss, right? Giving feedback and engagement. Isn't that correct?
I wouldn't use the word talking back. I would use the term providing valuable information that can help you be better. And Fair Talk is all about making others aware around things that matter. I can give feedback to anyone on 136 different things on what's wrong with them or where they can improve. Only those 136 things, each one of them will have a different marginal utility or will have a different incremental value. And the question number one is, what's one thing that will help you to be better? And that one thing can be one thing that you need to continue doing because you're doing it well and it's helping you and it's advancing you in your career, and that's positive feedback. That's my expectation for you to continue. Or it can be one thing that you might change, tweak, replace, do different, or abandon whatsoever. And that's the negative feedback. That's my expectation of change.
All right, I thank you for correcting me and redirecting this conversation to where you want it to be. So it's actually Dr. Sergey Gorbatov. What do you have your PhD in?
My PhD is in management science, and the topic of my dissertation was personal branding and how self-promotion and positioning ourselves in, particularly in this increasingly digitized world, helps you in your career.
Well,
There is this new concept that's called behavioral visibility.
ah,
Behavioral visibility, and this is the notion that good work doesn't speak for itself. You need to
I'm
make.
old school. I'm writing that down right now.
Please do, and repeat, repeat in your further in other forums and different episodes. You need to make yourself, and you need to make your work known. And those are, by the way, two different things. Making your work known and making yourself known. And in the times of COVID, as we can predict, because there are trends already for more virtual work, for more distributed work, out of sight, out of mind is very much true, COVID or no COVID. So if we move workers from the workplace, how do we make sure that they can still demonstrate that behavioral visibility? And the personal branding behaviors is a tool, it's a career management tool that can help you do exactly that.
So say what your dissertation was. Your specialty was behavioral what?
It wasn't personal branding.
Personal branding, and it had to do with, you use the phrase behavioral.
Behavioral visibility, correct. So your personal branding behaviors ensure greater behavioral visibility. And that visibility can create a personal brand equity. For those listeners with a nerdy inclination, you can go and check out the personal brand equity paper in the Personnel Psychology Journal, where I took together with my co-authors, develop and introduce this concept of personal brand equity. That is, how much is your personal brand worth? Do you know your professional worth? We know how much a TV costs. We know how much rent in this very expensive Southern California costs. But how much are you worth? Like, what's your professional worth? And that piece of research taps specifically into that.
Well, you're dealing with a couple of people who are following every word that you just said. So I want to introduce Stephen Howard. He's lived in Southern California for a long time and now is in Mexico City. Stephen has written, has authored 21 or 22 books, all about executive leadership. Is that right, Stephen?
Most of them, although interesting, my first book was about corporate image management and looking at the value of understanding what your corporate image value is. So now I want to take it to the personal branding level. So Sergey, I got a question for you though. How, and give our audience a tip, how do you build your personal brand without coming across as egotistical, without claiming all the credit? I'm talking like a leader of a team, particularly, and not giving the team due credit. How can you do that? What's one of your personal branding behaviors in that area?
Great question, Stephen. And to answer that, let me go back to this concept of personal brand equity, that is your worth. It has three components, three factors: brand appeal, brand differentiation, and brand recognition. So brand appeal, your brand you need to be liked. You need to be a rewarding person to work with. Your brand needs to resonate positively with your target audience. And I'm not saying with everyone. Not everyone needs to, and it's not the same as people like you, but rewarding and appealing as a professional, that is your target. And the other two factors are, okay, brand differentiation, you need to stand out, because right now this behavioral visibility gets commoditized somewhat. Now everyone has a LinkedIn profile. Many people have personal web pages. Starting a podcast is very easy. So how do you stand out, and how do you signal to the market, to the target audience? How do you create this costless signal that costs you something that others can't match or can't follow? That will make your personal brand differentiated. And finally, recognition. Your brand might be appealing, it might be differentiated, but you're not known outside of your the social circle of your mother and your cat. So you also need to communicate that widely in the world that is increasingly without boundaries. So brand appeal, brand differentiation, brand recognition. Your question was, how do I make sure that I create that in a way that I am not bragging or don't come across as arrogant? Well, those are the strategic personal branding behaviors that make sure that you do that for the professional field that you're in, or for the target audience that you're targeting. If your target audience is creative consultants, rock stars, and whatnot, well, maybe being arrogant and standoffish is exactly what's praised there. Right. If you want a job in the non-governmental sector, you want to do non-for-profit, well, that's absolutely the wrong strategy. That's why it's very difficult to give an answer to a very broad question. You need first to define what's my target audience, what's my goal, what is my current image with them, and what's my desired image, and what are the behaviors that I need to demonstrate, what are the brand attributes that I need to make visible to them that would close that gap.
Does this work equally within an organization as well as looking externally? If I was working in a Fortune 500 company, would I be using the same principles to build my brand internally?
You will use exactly the same principles, because these principles are based on years of research in impression management, self-promotion. There is this great theory from Erving Goffman, dramaturgical theory, that says, well, we have this stage that we operate in, and then we have off-stage and on-stage performances. And in different situations, we will be demonstrating a different face to the audience than we would do in our private sphere. So that doesn't go away. And that makes us confident in saying that, okay, if it's been proven years in organizational research and the psychology research, now what's changing is how we do that. And there is this technological change, societal change, the change of economics. Previously, I was confined to my to the marketplace of my town. Now, all of a sudden, the whole world is on offer because of this virtual working opportunities. So that's changing, but how we position ourselves, the basic principles of self-positioning, self-promotion, that stays constant.
So the role of media training is gigantic.
It is gigantic, and we need to learn how to engage and interact with social media, with the mic, with the video, and how to work with the your Google searches to make sure that your name is in the top 10 of any Google search that you're performing on yourself. So, and it's a good exercise. Just go and Google yourself and see what comes up. And if the top 10 is not you, it's someone else, well, you have work to do.
Got it. I want to welcome Ken Summers to the program. Feel free to join us, Ken Summers. We see you in the background, but don't see you. So we welcome you. So Stephen, this branding, the visualization is right up your alley, isn't it? About the way CEOs should be, the new post-COVID CEO and leadership should act or not act.
I think I would say everybody, not just the CEOs, but I would say everybody. Particularly when I read the Microsoft study today about workplace trends, and they said that Generation Z is at risk and needs to be re-energized. And you see research showing 44% of people might change companies once the pandemic lockdowns are over with. Well, if you're going to change company, you need to build your brand. You need to have high visibility of an individual if you're going to be, out there in the marketplace, at least in your industry, or particularly if you want to change industries, if you consider yourself a functional expert. So what advice would you have for Generation Z if you had to tell them the two things they needed to do, Sergey, to build that brand, build that personal brand, to change jobs, to entice a new employer or a recruiter to look at their resume and talk to them? What would you suggest?
So there is a piece of research that is coming out, and it's quite conclusive. So I'm very confident saying that Generation Z are also humans.
Oh, really?
They don't act that way.
So, and if we look into generational research, and if we control for bigger changes that are around them, people are not very different in their in how they treat their work, in how they treat workplace relations, about how they care about what's important to them, that is their values. So if we account for all the individual differences, I'm just wondering, okay, is the generational theory sustainable and viable? But that aside, right now we are all emerging from the pandemic, and it's not only Generation Z who are looking to change employers. Actually, if we look at all the different studies from all the different consultancies, we see this trend across across ages, across generations, across genders. So it's a bigger trend. And if I am an employee or an employer, well, we need to start thinking, okay, what does it mean for us? If I'm an employer, do I know what motivates my employees? And we know that goals, those who have few challenging and personally important goals, will be more motivated and willing to stay. If people get feedback on the progress towards those goals, that is hugely motivational. If they get rewarded and they get growth and development opportunities because of the work that they've done, because of the results that they've produced, well, they'll be very motivated and inclined to stay. If people have autonomy around how they do their work, how they manage their time, and they have flexibility, well, that is very motivational, whether you are just entering the workforce or whether you're about to retire. So that doesn't go away. And if we change the conversation around what are the motivational drivers of the people that I need for my company to deliver the strategic results that I care about, then we don't need to talk about generations necessarily, but we're talking about, okay, what drives and what motivates people to deliver the results that I care about.
So thank you. So I want to just quickly introduce Ken Somers, who comes to us from New England today. Hello, Ken.
How are you, Ed? Sorry I got here late.
No, it's quite all right. And I want to introduce Sergey Gorbatov, who is based in now Southern California, and Stephen Howard, who ran away from Southern California. No, he relocated to Mexico City. Okay, so Stephen Howard has written 21 or 22 books. I've lost track, but has been our co-host on a number of programs. Sergey has been on our program a couple of times, and is a big pharma executive in talent. But we're not here really to talk about that. We're here to talk about his brand, his PhD in branding, personal branding, which is a great thing. So Ken, why don't you quickly just explain that you just recently retired from this senior level with AXA Global Insurance?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. So very nice to meet all of you. As Ed was saying, I retired recently. COVID came and I said, you know what? I think it's time to do my own thing. So after 42 years as
personal branding, yeah.
Yes. After 42 years in a host of HR and line leadership roles, literally around the planet, I hung on a shingle and started my own private practice, focusing on really my passion point is helping HR people be more effective and more impactful in their organizations. So even the little bit I've been able to listen to, Sergey, I think you are spot on about motivation. Couldn't agree with you more. The only way I would add anything to that is to say that I think for me, personal experience as a leader and as in coaching other leaders is if you demonstrate genuine caring and compassion for your people, everything else falls into place. You know, it helps if you have a bunch of other skills, but if you can start by being authentic and genuinely caring about the welfare and the success of your people, that's half the battle.
Can I add something to that, Ken? I totally agree. Care is important. You need to care for your employees. You need to care for others. Full stop. Care needs to be balanced with challenge.
Yes.
And that is the definition of tough love.
Yep.
And when
Agreed.
you demonstrate tough love to your employees, they can stomach anything, and they love
Yep.
you, and they'll go to battle for you because you set the bar, and you support people. You help them to be more than they think they are, and you help them to be part of something bigger, and that's motivation. Nobody wants to live a small life.
No, and especially when you can combine all of that with reasonable and legitimate stretch opportunities.
So Stephen Howard has written books and has a successful consultancy on this very topic of leadership and well-being in the workplace. Stephen.
No, I agree with both the gentlemen, both our guests today. I would add, I think one thing I think personally, I think is changing is that care for people. I think there's an element of empathy that has arisen through the pandemic that's probably more important than prior to the pandemic. And I think that's lacking in some leaders. We often talk about, Yoda says, we have to unlearn what we know to learn. And yes. I think some leaders need to kind of unlearn the tough love a little bit. I think the pendulum has swung for some leaders too far to the tough love, and they need to bring it back here to the care with a dose of empathy in there as well. Would you agree, Sergey?
I'm a big believer in balance.
Yeah.
And every time that I hear the word pendulum, I get goosebumps. I don't like pendulums. That's why I would expect that balance between standards and care. If we go too much into empathy and we compromise on standards, we might lose part of the employee population that care about it, particularly high-performing key talent employees. If we go too much on the standards and say, okay, we need to re-emerge from this, we need go, we lose those employees who care affiliation and who care about the sense of belongingness and doing things together. So you need to balance that. This concept of versatile leadership. You need to comfortably move from one end to the other and do both things at a time. And that's the paradox of leaders, of a leader. How can you be both compassionate and demanding? How can you make sure that you align getting along with getting ahead? It's like hedgehogs in winter. In winter it's cold, so hedgehogs, they huddle together to keep warm, but then they start prickling each other, and they separate. And that's the paradox. How can we be together and still yet get ahead? And that's the great paradox of leadership. You can't be a leader and a friend. It's very difficult. And those leaders who can do both at the same time and not go mad, well, those are the truly versatile leaders. Absolutely. And we know that this leadership versatility is highly correlated with personal success and organizational success. And I highly recommend reading the works of Rob Kaiser and just following the work that Rob is doing on this concept of versatile leadership.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Sergey, if I could be a wise guy here for a second and just say the old phrase that we're all familiar with by now, trust but verify. This really has applications now, doesn't it? With people debating whether or not they go back into the office, on the one hand, trusting that it'll be safe for them and their family, or I won't have to be next to that jerk I have to be next to in the office. And on the other hand, the boss trusting and verify that the employees are honest and trustworthy and productive. A lot going on here, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And my question to the leader, do you have time for verification? And are you verifying the right things? And if you have time to verify everything, then I'll question your prioritization and your wise usage of the time. If I verify the results and the quality or the progress towards the results, that is absolutely the manager's job. And they make sure that their employees are progressing and they have what they need to do that. And what they need might be emotional support. It might be tools and resources. It might be them being together with others for brainstorming sessions, for feeling part of the team. So, and it will be different for every person, for every team, for every company.
Yeah, Stephen, is this a new chapter for a book?
I think it could be a whole book, actually.
I was going to say, hedgehog leadership.
Trust but verify. Yeah.
Okay, don't steal that, please. It was Schopenhauer who came up with this. That's already trademarked.
No, that is funny. So, Ken, I was mentioning to Stephen that I had told him about you possibly joining us today. So Ken and I had a phone conversation for the first time earlier today. So, and he mentioned that he worked for a time and still has extensive contacts in Asia. Stephen, you had worked there extensively as well.
Yeah, I lived there 21 years in Singapore. Where were you, Ken?
3 in Singapore, 3 Hong Kong, 8 Japan, 1 India, 1 Malaysia.
Oh my gosh.
So I made the rounds. The rounds.
You couldn't get an employment pass? You had to keep
No.
changing.
No, I admire your tenacity, 21 years in Singapore.
Well, I traveled a lot. Singapore is a great place to be based. Back, particularly I went there in 1980. So before even Changi Airport was built. I mean, so it was in the early days of development of Singapore.
We did have some overlap. I was there 95 to 98.
Okay, we did indeed. So, Sergey, I want to go back to, if you will, because it's an area that I'm very interested in, and it's about the book with you and Angela wrote. Is do you find that many first-time leaders fear giving feedback? And by leaders, I mean managers, supervisors, team leaders, anybody in a managerial role. Do you find they fear giving feedback? And if so, what steps can they take to overcome those fears?
And there are even those who don't fear at all and just give everything.
Yeah.
To the point that it hurts, to the point that it's too much, to the point that it's convoluted.
Yes.
And there are those who don't give feedback at all. So again, you have a spectrum. And the question is, what does this person need to hear that would make a positive difference in their results or for their development or for their career? And then identify that one thing, make sure that it's not biased, make sure that it's well supported. Think how you're going to deliver that. How can you deliver it with challenge and care? And have a plan. Make sure that you clearly articulate your expectations of what the employee should do next. And when you have that clarity of intent, the clarity of message, and you deliver it with positive intention, with a caring attitude, any message can be stomached.
And people can tell when you're being sincere.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely can tell.
Yeah, I dislike the phrase negative feedback, because I think all feedback, if you go with the right mindset, can either reinforce something, as Sergey was saying, or help somebody develop a new skill or develop a new behavior. So if your intention is to help the employee, as Sergey said, what's the one thing that will make them better, either individually, personally, productivity, then there's nothing negative about that. So I'm an advocate of taking the word negative out of our language. Sorry, Sergey, you were saying.
I was agreeing with you. Feedback has a marketing problem. That's,
yes.
If we reframe it, reposition it, maybe it will lose its bad rap. But I'm sure you're familiar with the work of Bob Hogan, and Bob is one of the psychologists that I personally truly admire, and he's one of my points of reference. And Bob likes to say the only useful type of feedback is negative feedback. And he has a point, and he has a case. And you also need to know Bob, and you need to know his work and his philosophy to understand. Of course, there is always you're always to position that. But we know that feedback is in great deficit. Angela and I ran a survey, and we found out that 1/3 of the senior leaders that we survey never give feedback to their employees.
Senior leaders.
It's shocking.
And by the way, we ran this survey, and we asked HR and senior leaders. HR told us that 80% of their people get feedback at least once a week.
Once a week? No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then business leaders brownie points for honesty. Say, you know what? No, we don't do that.
No.
For different reasons. But if you don't know where to improve, no improvement happens.
Well, absolutely. I had a client one time. She always said feedback is a gift, but sometimes you want to re-gift it.
Yes.
Or return it and get it.
Return to sender.
That would be absolutely the worst advice. That would be absolutely, because the next time the sender will think twice.
Exactly.
Will I give it to you or not? So the best thing and the best reaction to feedback is say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's change the subject just a bit. And so the article that Angela Lane just published, that was published yesterday, I guess, is about advice
for your birthday specifically.
Yeah, so it was advice. She was giving advice to younger people, I guess, about don't think short term, think long. So please go deeper.
It is an article, it is a blog post and also a podcast episode, and it's about playing the long game. So if you Google leverage point long game, it will come up in the search results, and it's about this change in mentality. Very often when people make career decisions, their frame is it's now or never. So if I don't, I have this offer. And if I turn it down, then it will be the last time that I'm offered it. Or if I turn it down, I will pass on this valuable opportunity that will never come back. If I don't say yes, I won't get another chance to say yes or no. But in the blog that accompanies the podcast, Angela suggests a tool, a thinking tool, where you can list all the restraints that you have. Medical concerns, caring for an ailing parent, plans to start a family, plans to relocate, plans to continue your education, and answer a couple of questions. So you have several columns. Now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And answer, will this constraint be true 3 years from now, 5 years from now, in the distant future? And when you look at the numbers of yeses, it clarifies your mind and it changes the mindset. You start thinking differently. Okay, so now it's true. Now I cannot say yes, or now I cannot take this opportunity. But in 3 years, it will change. And the opportunities are somewhat scarce, but also they're abundant. So we need to change at the same time, we need to rethink the way how we treat opportunities and how we can multiply opportunities. Best careers we observe are with people who can multiply opportunities and create opportunities for self by being more open to different moves, non-traditional moves, identifying opportunities that don't exist yet, or opportunities that they proactively create for themselves. So in a nutshell, that's what the article is about.
Good, thank you. Ken, what do you think of that?
I was sitting here, and at the risk of sounding self-serving, I feel like Sergey just described my career.
The long game.
The long game, because that's exactly what happened with me. Is that we actually had to turn down the first 3 offers of a posting to Singapore because of a variety of reasons. For some reason, my employer at the time came back a 4th time and said, "Are you ready now?" And we said yes, and it launched the rest of our career. And being open to moving from Singapore to Hong Kong, being open to moving from Hong Kong to Japan, and I could go on, created more opportunities as time went on. So I have to Google this blog.
Please, and we would be very happy to hear your comments and feedback on that.
Yeah, great. Why don't you use the chat? You look below on the screen, you see chat, and exchange emails or LinkedIn page, and then everybody gets it. So let's talk, Sergey, about this expat study that is in progress now and hopefully will thrive. And so we get all the information, you get the information. So Sergey, the study, why don't you explain a little bit better about how it started and why you think it's a valuable tool?
Apologies. The study started as a conversation. We are the three key researchers. There is Julian Dalzell from the Moore School of Business at the University of South Carolina, and he is an ex-Shell HR professional. So his career is largely with Shell again in so many different countries. I think he also can change nine countries, Asia, Middle East. I think he was in Africa, UK, US. It's Angela Lane, whom you very well know, and myself, and we started thinking, okay, as the world emerges from the pandemic, what is going to happen with the most valuable and most powerful developmental tool that organizations have at their disposal, and that is the international assignment opportunity? Is it likely to stay the same as pre-pandemic times? Is it likely to decelerate because many companies have learned that it's possible to do business even internationally, virtually? Or will it increase because the companies will now pounce at the opportunities to grow business? And depending on what is going to happen, there are few scenarios. If we are decreasing expatriation, how are we going to teach global leadership, and how can we build skills at an accelerated pace and at scale? If we are keeping the same levels, what will change, and how do we need to think about expatriation differently? How will different reasons for expatriation be affected? Because we know that sometimes we expatriate people for strategic reasons, for example, for governance, or to open to be a figurehead for the company, or it can be skill transfer or skill shortage, or it can be purely developmental. So what's going to happen to those type of expatriation reasons, and all different types of variables? So we're now running this study, and we're asking everyone to who has a senior role in HR at a company, so people who are close to the decisions and people who know what is most likely to happen, to take part in the study, so that we can analyze the data, crunch it 3 times, and then the machine will spit out the outcomes that will accompany with specific recommendations based on the academic base at our disposal. And we have already engaged a number of prominent academics who are very excited about this topic, and also the practitioner perspective that we'll put together in a nice report with a cute ribbon on top.
Which we're going to promote and discuss in our conferences, live, hybrid, or whatever. So, and hopefully a lot of people out there, that if you're listening and you want to take the test, take the survey, it's really quick and easy. It's tiny URL. Sergey, you guys said it much better than me, but it's tinyurl.com/expat study.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Well, I've watched your video and how you guys pronounce it so elegantly that I've become transformative. Stephen, what is the new book you're working on?
I said, if I tell you, I have to shoot you.
Oh, no. I've got work to do.
No, the new book is going to be based on my philosophy of leadership, what I call the art of great leadership. It kind of goes back to what Sergey and Ken were talking about earlier. I have a deep belief that good leaders drive results, or good leaders lead people, but great leaders do both. So it's that care and challenge together. So I call it the art of great leadership, and my concept of what the elements are of art of great leadership post-pandemic. So that's what I'm working on. Funny enough, I'm actually starting it this weekend. So I've got, so on Saturday, I will be sitting here with pen and paper and finalizing the outline and start writing on Sunday. So.
All right, I'm sworn to secrecy. So Ken, you and I are going to have a talk show dialogue on June 28th. And what are the things that you like to talk about most? I know you're going to negotiate with me later, but what, what's hot for you now that you've decided to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, what's hot right at this moment is preparing for reopening and helping companies and individuals figure out how do we optimize the next normal. How do I open my business? How do I bring my people back safely? How do I bring my people back in an environment where they can thrive? And for the individual, how do I transition back to what was the old normal, but with wrinkles? Because I for one, and Stephen, I'll be interested to hear how you treat this in your book. I, for one, believe that the days of 5 days a week in the office are probably gone forever for a vast segment of the population, that we will be learning how to live in a hybrid world. So I'm spending a lot of time talking to my clients about that right now. More broadly, my passion point is really helping HR people be more effective at working with their clients and being effective in their organizations. And really, to borrow the phrase, playing the long game with your career in human resources.
Thank you. I look forward to that immensely. Sergey, I really appreciate you doing this with us today. We learned a lot. We have about 5 minutes remaining. Stephen, where are you going to go on your vacation, or are you going to sit there and write the book?
On my vacation, I'm going on vacation the second week of July or the first full week of July to a lovely beach in Mexico. And yes, I'll be working on the book, but probably with a what we call a clamato here. It's a beer with the tomato juice and some spices in it. So that's probably what I'll be having for my week vacation.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Different from Michelada?
Pardon me?
How is it different from Michelada?
I'm not sure it is. I think it has a little Mexican spin to it. I think it's a matter of which of the Mexican peppers and spices they put into it. And the clamato itself is not a pure tomato juice. It's actually a brand name. So it's but with a nice lager beer and a clamato, it makes the afternoon very peaceful.
I think I'm going to try that, but I don't think I'm going to wait till, well, Joanne and I are going Joanne and I are going to on a vacation in the first week or so of August to Cabo San Lucas. And we stay right in the marina in Tesoro, which overlooks the marina. So we're going to be there about a week. We try to go there every year, but didn't go this past year. So we're leaving in about 1 hour from now for a hot and steamy time in Palm Desert, California, where they said it's going to reach 117 this afternoon. No, we got a little work to do. Visits to Home Depot and back, and then in the swimming pool, at least for a while.
Well, Ed, 2 blocks from Home Depot on Cathedral Canyon Drive is a large Mexican grocery store, and they will have clamato there. So grab that, grab a Modelo beer, take it home, and you can survive the 117-degree weather.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, Sergey, are you in the Irvine area now?
I am.
Yeah.
So just probably what, 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive from you?
It's about 90 miles, yeah. Yeah, we have family in Rancho Santa Margarita, which is right nearby.
Oh, yeah, it's around the corner.
Yeah. We used to produce live meetings in the old days, live meetings, 4 times a year in Irvine. So very, very familiar there. And in fact, the Irvine Company at one time, in another time, a galaxy far away, when I was a print publisher, they were one of my biggest publishing clients, where they bought advertising in my California-bound relocation guides, but also they hired me to republish their own brochures inside my magazine. And then we spun it off into a separate guide that they used about 500,000 copies to help when they were building up their residential communities throughout the region there. This is going back into the 90s. So long time ago, but fond memories. So Ken, it's nice to meet you. We started talking, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I think it was
Yes.
before you went to Poland.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And then life got in the way. But here we are again.
I know, it's great. It was still there. Yeah. So Stephen, thanks very much.
My pleasure.
We have a couple of real good shows coming up on Thrive and Strive. Why don't you tell these guys your take on what the Thrive and Strive series has become, as well as what was original in thinking?
Today's a good example of what we want to accomplish, which is an engaging conversation. So Strive, or what we call Strive XL, we're going to call it Strive X, but there is already a Strive X out there. So we're going to follow TEDx or SpaceX or something. So XL is to live extra large. We want to help people live extra large, better themselves, stretch themselves, challenge themselves. So this show, which is Strive XL, is all about leaders, what leaders can do to improve themselves, the continuous learning, what they can do to improve their employees. And then Thrive XL is our show where we really focus on employee well-being or leadership well-being and workplace wellness. And so our discussions there are really focused on that, although we kind of cross, as you saw today, a little bit across the topics. But yeah, so thank you, gentlemen. We've given our audience some great ideas about how to really think about their personal branding, thinking about feedback, thinking about how HR business partners can help grow the business and get businesses back on their feet again. So I thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that analysis. Sergey, thank you very much. Please come back on our program. Ken, we'll talk soon.
Look forward to it. Nice to meet you both.
Same here.
Nice to meet you. Thank you all. Okay, this is Ed in San Diego, and you're on Global TV Talk Show, a unit of globalbusinessnews.net. Check it out. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.